back again to slam a movie into the ground on how much I absolutely hate it. Let's take a sip of the boost energy to boost up my energy to review this dog shit movie. That wasn't a sip. Today I'm talking about Fantasy Island, which was released this year. I missed it in cinemas. I was going to try and see it in cinemas, and then all the cinemas shut, and it was still showing, but they're shut, so I couldn't see it. But now it's on VOD. Fantasy Island. My fantasy is this movie not existing. Oh, what a burn. Take that, Jeff Wadlow and Blumhouse. More like, Jeff, what a load of shit you make, and Bumhouse, because the few films you've released recently have been like shit coming out of someone's bum. I'm burning today. I'm burning people. I'm roasting everyone. Fantasy Island is based on the 1970 TV show where people go to an island and they think up their biggest fantasy, and then that thing happens on the island for them. It was the characters were Mr. Rock and Tattoo, and the show had dark episodes at points, little dark moments to it, but it was more of a fun show for the family in ways. Like, people were always saying, I love the show as a kid. Fantasy Island was a show that everyone could sort of get on board with. And then someone went, you know what? Let's make that a horror movie. Let's make it that people go to the island, they have their fantasy, but everything turns out not how it's meant to be, like how the TV show did. But that's an idea that could be perfect, an idea that could work. Exactly. Because if you think about it, people going to an island, think up their best fantasy, then that fantasy going to shit, I'm on board for that. But Fantasy Island isn't fun. The people that go to the island are really annoying. There's some alright performances, but I'm not going to pick up people. I'm not going to talk about actors or anything at this point because I can't be bothered to talk about people. But I'm going to talk about people, just talk about the actors. I'm not going to name actors. But Michael Pena, we'll say that. Michael Pena plays Mr. Rock in this. He's the main guy that's doing everything on the island. But all the people that go there, their fantasies are really boring fantasies. Two guys go there. They're like, we want to go to an amazing party where there's loads of beautiful women. One of us is gay, so we want some like muscly dudes there as well. And then another person's fantasy is, I want to marry the guy that I never married and have kids. Then another guy's fantasy is, I used to be in the army and I want to go back to being in the army. But it doesn't make any sense because he'd already seen his friend die before. So he now thought, want to see if that can happen again. And you can tell that this is written by dads, cool dads, because when this guy first goes out into the jungle, Michael Pena drops him off there, and he's like, "Have fun on your fantasy," and he turns to Michael Pena and says, "Call of Duty time," because it's meant to be in the army and Call of Duty is a computer game. It's a horribly delivered line. The guys that go to the party are overly annoying. It's almost like someone thought, can we do super bad but not have the characters likable or fun in any way, and just really cringy, and they keep high-fiving all the time, being like, dude, and have you ever seen an actor who's, I don't know, I haven't looked him up properly, I couldn't see anything online that said if the Asian guy in the film is gay or straight in real life, but there's a point where he is dancing with two guys that have their shirts off, and they are very close to him, and I've never seen anyone look so uncomfortable in my life. Like, he is like, I'm meant to be playing a gay character, but I'm uncomfortable with shirtless men. It's, that part of the film is a lot of like, oh, yeah, we got muscly dudes, but then there's a lot of point where they have women running, but in the tiniest bikinis, and they're running from people shooting, and like a woman's boobs are bouncing up and down. I'm like, am I watching Piranha 3DD again right now? This also plays out like it's a pilot for a TV show, because this was meant to be, well, it's meant to be a prequel, but it's also set in current time, so it couldn't really be a prequel because that's set in time where they don't have iPhones and everything the TV show. But the way it's set as a prequel is something that makes me cringe completely. I'm going to spoil the film for you. So, on the island, they have these fantasies, but the two guys that have the party thing, they realize, it turns out that a big boss owns the house, and his henchmen are coming to kill them, and it's fucking hilarious that it doesn't make any sense. So they come, like, that's the best thing they could think up, that it goes wrong. Like, it seems like a child wrote that part of the film. They have party, and then it turns out the fantasy isn't going well because big old henchmen with guns turn up, and then we have firefight and lots of people wearing masks fighting, and one of them has a grenade, and they both fight over a grenade at one point. Like, that's how I think it was pitched. They just put a little, like, 6-year-old in the room and just were like, you, come on, tell us your fantasy. A party, I want big party. Like, that comes off what it is. But, so that happens, and that's their fantasy going wrong. But then, what happens if you kill these things, the people that come after you? Then, because they're in your fantasy, they then turn into things where they have black eyes, because we haven't seen that in so many films before, where people have been possessed and their eyes turn black. It's so overused and boring. Stop with that shit of people's eyes turning black. It doesn't work anymore. So that happens, and another person's fantasy where she's meant to have the boyfriend and stuff, it then turns out that all along, she's not actually, she's like, I don't want that fantasy anymore, it's not working for me. And the guy's like, well, you can only have one fantasy. She's like, no, cancel out that one, want to go into something else. So she goes into a fantasy where you find out the real reason why they are there. And it turns out that the whole fantasy is someone in the film, because she was meant to go on a date with a guy. The guy never turned up, and that's because he died in a fire. There are 2 twists in the film. 2 twists, and it just gets worse and worse. But I went off topic, didn't I? We were talking about why I'm saying how this connects as a prequel. So, that firefight happens at the party, and the 2 guys, one of them dies. And the Asian guy says to Michael Pena's character, Mr. Rock, I don't want to go back, I want my brother to be with me, that's my fantasy. And he's Michael Rock, Mr. Rock says to him, the only way you can have that fantasy is if you stay here and your brother goes, and then the brother appears on the plane because he decides to stay on the island. And in the original show, the other character with Mr. Rock was called Tattoo. And Mr. Rock says to the guy that's still stuck there, what do you want? Like, we need a name for you. I'll give you a uniform, but we haven't got a name for you. What should we call you? And he says, well, I did a dare with my friends and got quite drunk, and I got the word tattoo tattooed on my chest. And he just has tattoo written above his nipple. And Michael Pena's like, we'll call you Tattoo then. And is this meant to be the part where everyone in the cinema or whatever that had seen the original TV show is like, oh shit, yeah, great, yes, that is what I'm talking about. They did they did a connection to the original Fantasy Island. Oh, what the hell, that's amazing. No, you aren't a Marvel movie. No one is fucking clapping in the cinema. You aren't John Wick. Alright? No one's applauding you because you threw in a little, that character's called Tattoo now, just like in the original TV show. It's bullshit. It's bullshit writing. And here's the thing. If you look through every single one of Blumhouse's films, when the film starts, they don't say like, we didn't have Blumhouse's The Invisible Man, Blumhouse's The Purge. That's not how the titles come up. But when this film begins, the title comes up and it says Blumhouse's Fantasy Island. And I was like, that looks like a TV show logo. Did they do a pilot and then just said, nope, let's just release it in cinemas? This has the same writers that did Truth or Dare. And we all know that Truth or Dare was a bad film. And for some reason, someone was like, "Oh, Blumhouse was like, yep, I released Truth or Dare. I want them to do. I want Jeff Wadlow back to do Fantasy Island." I have not enjoyed a Jeff Wadlow film. He has come and fucked everything that he has been involved in. He did Cry Wolf, which wasn't a good film. He did Kick-Ass 2, where he ruined the franchise, and Chloe Grace Moretz didn't want to come back for Kick-Ass 3 because of him fucking it. She was like, that was an embarrassment of a film. He then... Jeff Wadlow did Truth or Dare, yes, and it was a crap film. Bloodshot that came out... Bloodshot that came out last month. Jeff Wadlow was a writer on that. Bloodshot, computer game, cutscene, the movie. I know why it was a shit film now, because Jeff Wadlow was on it. He fucks every single thing. Jeff Wadlow is next meant to do the Magic 8 Ball movie. And I know that's going to... I'm excited for a Magic 8 Ball movie, but not when he's on it. Maybe he'll amaze me, but... Fantasy Island, I hated it. It's hardly even a horror. It turns into a horror like round near the end, but that's when everyone's eyes just start turning black. People start getting stabbed. The one of the women characters in the film is like, I'm just here because I got bullied in school, and she's the one with the coffee. She can get to go on the date with them. Died in a fire, and then she gets pulled underwater at the end, and her fantasy's over. And there's a surgeon, Mr. I can't remember. He has his lips sewn shut, and he's Mr. Surgeon. Like that's the only horror aspect. It's like I said. That is how almost like a kid wrote it. I wanna see if his name was Mr. Surgeon, because I just remember it being one of the worst names for someone. I don't even review films properly anymore. I just laying out how fucking bad they are. Even Jimmy O Yang's character is called Brax Weaver. What? JD Weaver. Brax and JD. What the fuck are those names? Okay. There's a character called Devil Face. I'm trying to find out who the Oh no. It wasn't called Dr. Surgeon. He's called Dr. Torture. Dr. Torture. You have someone that does torture in the film, and the best name you could come up with is Dr. Torture. Don't watch Fantasy Island. If you're on VOD and you see that it's on there and you think, oh, Fantasy Island, I'll give that a go. Don't do it to yourself. I did it to myself, and that was a terrible idea. Blumhouse has released The Incredible, The Invisible Man this year. But then Fantasy Island came out very soon after. I used to be able to trust Blumhouse with a lot of stuff, but at the moment I can't really. There's a new Purge coming out in July. I'm not sure it's probably going to get pushed. But hopefully Blumhouse will return back to something alright. But Fantasy Island isn't the one. That is my review on it. It's a 1 out of 5 from me. If you've seen Fantasy Island, let's talk about it in the comments down below. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Is it your favourite film of 2020? Tell me the worst things you thought about it, because I haven't even gone into the worst things about it. There is more. There is more, but if I spoke about this film for longer, I'd rip my own eyes out. That's all from today. That's all from today. I keep messing up every single time I end a video. That is all from me today. Thank you very much. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Goodbye. Did that wrong as well. I was meant to go to... There we go. Meant to go to black.